Good morning. I'm going to call this session of the Board of Division to order. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are Treaty 1 territory, the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. Our board this morning is composed of Richard Whitbread, who is farthest to my left. Next to me is Jeff Peich. My name is Harvey Diamond. The City Assessment Department is represented by Michael Taylor. Our organizer and secretary is Val Rojo. And the applicants in this situation, all these matters on the agenda are represented by Mr. Story, Fairfax Realty. We'll be hearing applications for revision of the assessment rules in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision have been requested are described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements made at this hearing must be sworn, and anybody giving evidence must be sworn in first. Be advised that we do not accept comparative assessments. Our board is appointed annually by council. We are independent of the city administration. We make our decisions based on the evidence that we hear, and we issue written orders that will be sent to all parties by mail as soon as possible. Please note that our decisions with respect to application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Assessment Matter if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to an application for exemption from taxation, and the details of how to appeal will be included with our order. With respect to the hearing process, I'll confirm matters to be addressed with each applicant following their swearing in. We will then hear the assessor's testimony followed by any questions the applicant may have, after which the applicant will provide their evidence, followed by any questions. And if requested, I'll allow any party to summarize if they wish to do so. Once all the evidence on the application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The person will repeat for each matter on the agenda today. And after all matters are heard, we will close this hearing. We will deliver it in private, and we will send out our decisions by written mail as soon as possible. The information is being recorded and live streamed to form part of a public record. Thank you. We can swear in the parties, Bill.
Please state your full name.
Mike Taylor.
And you swear the evidence about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your full name.
Sid Story.
And you swear the evidence about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the first matter on the agenda today refers to a property at 529 Wellington Crescent. And you can proceed when you're ready, Mr. There.
So the file number for 529 Wellington Crescent is 19-4166. The roll number is 1204-0506-000. Proposed 2020 assessed value is $2,694,000. Today we have a joint recommendation to reduce the assessed value to $2,500,000 based on revised NOI and cap rate. So joint recommendation between the appellant and the assessor.
There's an NOI and cap rate, so both of them are reduced.
Yeah.
Or cap rate has been increased. Cap rate has been increased and the yeah. Okay. So you accept that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any questions, panel members? No. Okay, so this matter is for 1700 Pembina Highway. Again, Mr. Taylor?
Just wanted to address the panel and Mr. Chairman. So for the next three properties on the hearing, the evidence was submitted late by the applicant.
Okay.
I attempted to contact the manager of the Board of Division and never sent me a comment back as to what you guys are going to do with this.
Okay. The matters are on the agenda right now, and
I got supposed to be presenting mine, so this is on the independent value.
right.
But I'm not sure what you want to do with the applicant's evidence. My preliminary matter is saying like it's
Okay, so are you making an application that we exclude the evidence of the applicant?
that would be consistent with what I've seen done previously, or the appropriate weight we put on that evidence since it was submitted late.
Well, either, I think if it's submitted late, either we don't regard it whatsoever, I don't think there's weight to it, or we decide that notwithstanding, let Mr. Story indicate why and what his position is.
Yeah.
And we'll have to come to a decision on that.
For sure. Sounds great.
Okay, so are you making an application then that the evidence of the applicants on the next three matters be excluded?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Story, what do you have to say?
Yes, my assistant actually attended at the board to follow all of this evidence and picked up all the briefs from the assessor and found out, much to her chagrin, there were 3 briefs in there that we hadn't received letters for, that we weren't aware they were scheduled. So I don't know if Ellen was involved, but Visa, Magda, my assistant, spoke with Visa, and Visa was aware of the situation. They were, I think that these were rescheduled as a result, were they not?
I have
Scheduled
no
in
idea.
January 19th,
Yeah.
and they were rescheduled?
So you're saying that they were scheduled to, so that you could have conformity?
Yeah, but what happened is we had these briefs prepared well in advance of that time, so she brought them in the next morning. But she didn't know we had a hearing until,
Okay. And how late were they filed?
A day late, like,
One
you
day
would have
next
gotten
morning.
mine and filed his. That's my problem, is that
Okay, so
he
what's,
had my evidence, looked at it.
no, I understand, so is there a prejudice to the city because you see it a day late? In other words, have you not been able to prepare for this matter because they were filed late, or if there's no prejudice, that's something we have to consider?
Well, I think too, it's just like the whole seeing what I have presented.
No, I understand, but
Yeah.
I still like to see prejudice though, because if you could say to us that because of the lateness in filing, I was not able to prepare well, then there's a prejudice. If not, I'm not saying I'm making a decision yet,
Yeah,
but I want to know.
I wouldn't say no.
Okay. Mr.
You haven't provided any evidence about your communication with the owner? I see no letters in here, no mailer, no envelope.
For which property?
that's for questionnaire.
They're not asking for non-cooperation.
No, it's not a non-cooperation thing.
It's just a late.
We're just talking about late submission.
Okay, but typically we've seen the evidence. Maybe not?
He's referring to the evidence exchange
Yeah.
for the hearing.
Yeah.
What's that?
The evidence exchange for the hearing, it's a 14-day evidence exchange, where both parties submit to the office and then they pick up and review each other's evidence.
Right.
So this case was filed 13 days ahead of time, so it should have been 14. And so there's an application from the assessor that we disregard the evidence, it was filed a day late. Okay? Anything else you want to?
I have just a letter signed by my assistant indicating she talked to Visa, referring to the board, just so the board knows. But,
Yeah, we can't
just to
take that
make-
as, I really can't take that as evidence because, first of all, she's not here to be questioned.
okay.
And,
The issue is that we weren't, just to make sure everybody understands, we go through an exchange of information. We didn't know there was a hearing scheduled for any of these 3 properties. We had lots,
Okay,
and this only happened on 3 properties. We did about 300 appeals.
okay, I'm gonna suggest that we're gonna have to deliberate on this. I would like both of you to leave while we do so. Okay, so we come to the decision, and we're going to allow the briefs because I know they're a day late, but there's been ample time to prepare, and it'd be difficult for us to come to a fair decision without hearing them, and there's no prejudice in it, basically. And Mr. Story indicated they were ready ahead of time, and he thought that they were not informed properly that the hearing was today, so I'll accept it for what it is. But anyway, we have decided we're going to hear the matters and accept the evidence of the applicant and the briefs. And I indicate on the record that Mr. Beach has indicated that he's got conflicts on the next 3 matters,
Okay.
so he's excused from the hearing of
Yeah, that's fine.
those. So we'll now proceed with 17 Edge Government Highway. Are you ready, Mr. Taylor?
So the file number for 1700 Common Highway is 19-3902. Full number is 030800355500. Full 2020 assessed value is $2,043,000. 1 building on site, restaurant built in 1979, 2 stories. Total leasable area we're looking at today is 10,700. Land to plan area of 9.07 to 1. Keep in mind though, if you're looking over on page 16, photograph of the subject property. There is a river lot on Government Highway there. Point Corral Restaurant. So there is some springtime flooding when there is seasonal flooding, which would affect that land to building ratio. As it comes up for the month or two that the water's up. Looking at page 2, you can see that the owner was compliant in sending income and expense questionnaires to the subject property. Page 4 has the income workup for the subject property, so it has the 10,700 square feet. So that'd be the main and the upper floor blended together at a rent of $15.30 a square foot. Standard vacancy for restaurants is 3%, standard market vacancy. Unrecovered expenses being 2%, shortfall at $7.50 a square foot, and a capitalization rate for restaurants at 7.50. 7.5%. So like it's that $2,043,000. We have some rental comparables over on page 3. So those range from a low of 1380 up to, I've got some really high ones in here, I'm sorry. I just tried to find similar size, like larger restaurants. I know I've had enough of these with Mr. Story, and I'm sure he'd go over it too, but some of the ones you see that have the higher rents end up having lots of inducements to get them up to that rate, and they have to do lots of work to the property, so I still feel that the 1530 applied to the subject is appropriate. On page 4, the Municipal Assessment Act blurbs all the way through page 15. So page 16 just shows that aerial photograph that I talked about before. And the last couple pages, 17 through 19, is just the income and expense as submitted by the Point Corral, by Larry Hodgman at the Point Corral there, just indicating it's fully owner occupied. He hasn't broken really down the expenses at all. I guess he has put a book rent on it himself, but I guess the total expenses, all he has is mortgage and interest. He isn't putting any actual expenses that relate to the property on. That's my submission, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Story?
Yes, very quickly. The subject property is a 2-story restaurant, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Have you been there?
Yep.
Okay. And it was built in 1979, and since 79 there's been a series of different restaurants in there. Are you aware of that?
Yep.
And just quickly, if we can catch this, I agree with you that some of these would obviously include inducements. The first one, 1500 Pembina, that's Tony Roma's, isn't it?
Trying on page 3?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's a pretty good comparable, other than, except that it's on 1 floor, not 2.
On 1 floor, but that one I've also had here in hearing, and that one, there was discussion about how little parking was available on that site with its importance.
Well, they do have that challenge, because they
Yeah.
share it with Tim Hortons, and Tim
Yeah,
Hortons is
exactly.
busy. But that is a single floor, a single story.
Single story, yeah.
So 1538 is not unreasonable as a comparable, as an example.
Nope.
And 787 Leela, is that Paradise?
Let's see.
Or is that Sal's?
That sounds.
Salisbury, okay. And 1380 is less than 15. And 305 Madison, is that the one that's closed? Perkins? No, Perkins, yeah.
Yeah, that would have been the Perkins restaurant.
Okay, and that's closed, so that's $17. Another 15 at 115 Gary, and that's a keg, downtown keg, which is very popular.
Yeah, again, just tried to include a larger leasable area
Yeah,
restaurants.
okay. So the most appropriate would be in that range of $15 to $16.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And then you go to your page 4, and I presume that everything here is model driven
Yeah.
or model derived. And the 3% vacancy loss, that would be more, or pardon me, if restaurants are considered retail, would the 3% not be on the light side for vacancy allowance?
No, that's the market vacancy for restaurants for the whole city.
That's the market vacancy for restaurants?
Yeah.
Okay, well, where does that come from? From the city?
from the city, when we
Yeah.
do an analysis of vacancy for buildings that are specifically used as restaurants, solely used as restaurants, or built for just restaurants, whether it's fast food, family restaurants, the like, it's getting a 3%.
Okay,
Generally freestanding, yeah.
okay. And this particular property, just so we remember, was initially Graves Pier 7, and then it changed over to Cork and Dock, and then Cork and Dock closed and they leased it with option to purchase to Pony Corral. So it's been 4 different restaurant operations since it was built. Are you aware of that?
Since 1979?
Yeah. Okay. So it's had a history, some vacancy.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd hope there's some vacancy over those years.
Yeah. And the 7.5, there's no cap rate, and when we go to your page 4, there's no provision in this document for restaurants per se.
Oh.
And then just, so I don't repeat myself, just want to make sure that the board understands, on page 16 of the brief, you see the top picture, and what happens, you indicated that the lower level for the flooding season, we'll call it the spring, it floods out, so they lose that, I'm gonna call it the lower level parking, which is the parking at the river, right? That's from the patio to the river, the parking is gone. And
Yeah.
they don't always clean it, because it's a very kind of sloped, they don't always clean it in the winter either. But that's, if we were to take the little, the picture of the building, where the little red icon is, from there to the water is the one that distorts the land to building ratio, because it's not always utilized, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
As I was saying before, is that, yeah, for the couple months that
Yeah.
there's a flood,
And on the,
building ratio will be affected.
okay, and on the front part of the property, the picture at the bottom,
Yeah.
that is a outdated Wendy's. It changes, Wendy's has a different image now, and that was acquired by the Pony Corral, so you can see that their restaurant parking is running along the north wall and is limited when that restaurant had been operating as a Wendy's. It also has parking challenges. Is that a fair comment?
Well, the parking will be affected, but it's really a trade-off. You can kind of see by the bottom of page 16 or even the top, just where surrounding properties build their parking lots too. So you can kind of see where the flood line would be based on where the other parking lots are on the neighboring properties, because you have that medical laboratory right beside.
Right.
You have the hotel on the other side. So you can see generally, Mr. Chairman, the panel where the flood line would come to when it does flood. And you can also see if there is that large patio there too. So really, I feel like it's a choice. They have a choice to put a patio there. They're taking advantage of the dock for Pier 7 and that too. So yes, there is concerns when there's flooding. It doesn't affect the restaurant at all. It would affect parking for the couple months if there is flooding. Not though, in my opinion, to say that they have no parking if there's flooding.
I don't know how familiar you are with it, but have you been on the upper level?
Yep.
Because it's certainly the most popular part of the facility is the patio.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's just inside the patio on the main floor, and the upper area is more party related, like for private parties.
Yeah.
Okay, those are all my questions.
Thank you. Super, do you have any questions of the assessor?
Just a simple one. Those pieces of something on page 16 that are in front of the boat, is that a dock?
Yes.
The dock, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And is it fair to say that water would come up to where the boat is parked or down lower?
Depending on flooding, but like I said, you can see by neighboring properties, so usually the water would come. Like I'm suggesting that generally, like the flood lines here,
turnover.
it's gonna affect it, yeah, exactly, so. And I mean, like, if they didn't have this patio right here, they could park still back there, but
Yeah.
as the story presented, it's a really popular place to be.
So did that
I
impact
don't
your
remember.
decision to have no excess or surplus land on this property?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
because that is a fair chunk, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd only really be like if this, Wendy says we're gonna look at next. I mean, that is the excess, the owner owns both, there's a separate parcel.
Okay, thank you. No other questions?
I have a question, and I noticed that there's 10,700 square feet of restaurant,
Yep,
and the patio outside, is that included in that space? So that's additional space then that the restaurant utilizes,
Yeah,
it's
we
not
don't-
being accessibility taxes?
yeah, we wouldn't assess for temporary structure like a patio or seasonal kind of thing, because they have lots of businesses that throw one up.
No, I understand, well, Mr. Story did indicate that it was the most popular part of the
Yeah,
restaurant.
it is, yeah.
So, you know, it seems to me that, okay, I can see why they're not using it as a parking lot then.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, okay, thank you. Mr. Story?
Thank you. Let's go to the brief, photograph those to Doug. Current assessment's $2,043,000. If we go to our page 3, we're suggesting that a rent per square foot in the $14 range would be appropriate. This was leased from Cork and Dock at $11 a square foot with an option to purchase. And the option to purchase was exercised. That was about 7 or 8 years ago. But this is the 10,700 includes the second floor space, which is used, but there's some issues with moving food around the building from level to level. We're using a 6% vacancy rate. Retail typically has a higher vacancy, and certainly restaurants have a high vacancy. I can't imagine a 3% vacancy allowance for restaurants. 1 in 3 fail in the first year. I don't have evidence of that, but I had lots. We're suggesting a 7.5 cap, as does the assessor. So our main issue is the assessors provided evidence in the $15 range, and that's what they show as the amount. His comps, when you take out the large ones, the ones that are reasonably comparative, are Salisbury House and Tony Roma's, and those would support a $15 or $14 rate. So I'm asking for $14 and 6% because it's a high risk, and I believe the turnover is higher than 3%. And that would be a value of $1,713,962. We flip to the next, 1747 Ellis Avenue was 25 years. It was a Grapes location. After that, it became Who's Asian Bistro. It's on the lot where Leon's is. Its rent, because it's a large footprint for a restaurant, being 10,000 square feet, its rent is $10.64 square foot. 440 St. Mary's is, and there was a 218 renewal on that, as far as I know, or there was a renewal at the same rate. And that's another pony corral. That's in the Central Gas Building at 444
St. Mary's Road.
I'm sorry, that should be St. Mary's Avenue. Sorry, Avenue. Good on, yeah, that's road. Avenue is correct. And that's a pony corral downtown. Prior to that, it was Grapes Uptown, and they closed, and he took it over. And prior to that, it was Keg Caesar. It was a keg. So it too has had a history of a variety of different uses. 8 Forks Market Road is a spaghetti factory. That's at the Forks Market. The Forks draws 4.5 million visitors a year and is very much geared to children, and it's a $10 rate. 8 Reindeers was the first famous Daves to come to Canada, and they're at 17 and a quarter, 3,100 square feet. So that $12 to $14 seems reasonable. Here's a median of 10. The average is $13. I think that's reasonable to support our $14 figure. And we're requesting 5% be reinstated for non-recoverables, and that would be my presentation.
Any questions?
Yeah, just two quick questions. So on your rental comparables, the first one on Ellis, you said it was grapes, and it went to become who's?
It was grapes for 25 years.
Yeah, and then became who's, and then it switched to Danny's Whole Hog.
Danny's
for
Whole Hog,
a bit.
and now it's Hakeem Optical.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's switched a bunch of times, but you've used the original tenant for this 1064.
Well, the lease still ran out. The lease was just extended, was
Oh.
assigned. It's the same lease.
So people are just piggybacking on an old lease, essentially?
No, that, for Danny's Whole Hog was a very extensive negotiation, but it was, they took an assignment of the lease.
So this 2010 lease is for Danny's Whole Hog?
2010 lease?
The one you have?
Well, it was it was written with
That was for who's?
whose, and it was assigned,
Okay.
yeah. But it's in force through the period, through the reference period.
And the other question I had was on 8 Reindeers,
Yeah,
the famous Dave's. Have you been to that location?
yes, I sort of put it together in a way.
And you're stating it's 4,040 square feet?
That's what the lease shows, yeah.
Oh, okay, 'cause I have it as being more than,
More than that?
way more than that, almost double that square footage, so.
Yeah, I don't think so, but it could be.
And just the last thing, so your issues today are rent you want tapped down?
This rent $14, your evidence shows about 15 is, your 1530 is defensible by the appropriate comps.
Your
I'm at
vacancy rate
$14.
change,
Pardon me?
your vacancy rate change is based just on?
Yes, I think vacancy, I think using 3% for restaurants, just think about what we just talked about in the last few minutes. We talked about,
Did you look at Johnson Report or any of the other?
yes, Johnson Report is 4 to 7% for retail,
Okay,
and restaurants would be the highest end of the retail, in my opinion. And
4
we've
to
just,
7% for retail, not for restaurant.
Pardon me?
You're saying it's your opinion?
4 to 7, well, retail is, pardon me, restaurants have to be captured somewhere in Johnson's report. It's captured in retail. And his overall retail is 4 to 7%. But just thinking about restaurants, restaurants should not be the lowest vacancy that the model creates. That doesn't make any sense.
No, they're not the lowest.
What would be a lower vacancy other than multi-tenant residential, 2.7?
We have 2% vacancy for some other.
Okay.
The 6% vacancy that we give to retail properties is usually just for walk-up. Retail properties you see along St. Mary's Road, Henderson Highway, gone through those ones, that 14.
Yeah.
And the other one's just, you change the shortfall rate to 375.
Yeah, that's a mistake. I don't know how that happened, but we'll accept it. I don't know why we changed it.
You just change it because when you got the vacancy, the shortfall changes. So
I
instead
think
of
we had
having
trouble,
it be-
we also had trouble on printing this from my property. Yeah,
You're just gonna
it
leave
wasn't
as
thought
is.
through, we just thought,
Well, you know, you're using the same number as 2408, so,
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, so I don't think he has changed the shortfall, it's just the number there.
yeah.
Yeah, the rate change just, if you double the vacancy, your shortfall will double.
Yeah,
Essentially,
yeah.
unless you change the rate, so if you
Yeah.
just change the rate half,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
keep it the same.
I see.
Yeah. But there's no intent on that, that just
No,
kind of.
nothing, nothing for comfort.
Okay, those are my questions, thanks.
Okay. Super, any questions?
No, good, thanks.
Okay, so you're indicating that you think that the vacancy that the city's allowed is short, but you haven't given us any evidence.
No,
to the contrary, so,
No,
okay.
I have not.
Um,
Other than the discussion we just had about each one of the comps, it's like a series of restaurants.
And you're asking for the 5% expenses,
Yes,
and the city allows the 2%,
yes,
but you also have the 2% down, which you call structural, which
Yes.
the city calls.
yes.
um,
We treat it all as
Expenses.
non-recoverable.
So basically you're asking for 7%, the city is giving 2%.
No, we're asking for 5 more than the 2, 7 in total.
You're asking for 7
Yeah.
total, right?
Yeah. And it's because, the reason, again, we get back to vacancy in restaurants, landlords have much more costs, non-recoverable, because of the turnover in restaurants. They turn over so quickly. Real estate commissions are not recoverable. Any special build-outs for the restaurant. You'll find that most restaurants, other than these local chains, but most restaurants are coming in and they've got a corporate covenant that allows the landlord to do some work and build it into the rent.
Yeah, we're not talking about this was here, but you're basically also indicating on your comparables that those are old leases that were kept on being assumed by, or assigned.
No, it's a 10-year lease from.
No, I'm talking about the leases that you're looking at, your
Yeah, in the
comparables.
comps. Yeah,
You're saying
there's
they were old leases that were
There's only
signed.
one that's been signed. The others
Oh.
are not old. The thing is Dave just built.
Okay, but the one on, so you have,
The only one is, and I should just mention,
okay, but if you have a lease that's assigned, there wouldn't be a commission to pay. Because there's no new lease. If you have an old lease that's assigned,
yeah,
there wouldn't be a commission to pay.
no, not at all. No,
Yes.
but when you get turnover in a sector, and restaurants have turnover, you're more likely to have non-recoverables as a landlord.
Okay, but if there's a lease that's being assigned,
Yeah,
that
no,
means,
I'm not
that
talking
means, that means that the
about
old.
I agree, I'm not talking about that specific,
Yeah,
it's the
but-
general term.
The lessor in that case would have to make good on all that shortfall he's out of it, because he wouldn't have a lease to assign if he didn't keep that lease current.
Yeah, but they, from the property owner's perspective, if you have a video rental stores and they have a high chance of turnover, then your potential for
Not
non-recovery.
rental video stores really
Bad.
anymore. but
Bad example.
It's a bad example.
Anyway, the,
But I'm just suggesting though, you're commenting on one hand that there's extra
there's only,
commissions to pay, but when you have a lease that's assigned, you wouldn't have.
yeah, but there's only one lease that's assigned, it's a sublet, it was $17.
No, I know, but these are all 10-year leases that you're using as comparables, and they all have covenants on them. Now, your lease on, okay, they all have,
Yeah, they're covenants. It was a good, the one from Rendiers was a wonderful covenant by the tribal council, and they closed, they went broke, and Rendiers was sold right after it was built. So,
oh, okay, is that not a Famous Dave's anymore?
is it not what?
No, it's still famous.
No.
Is it which?
It's not a Famous Dave's anymore?
Yeah, it's Famous Days, but tribal council of Manitoba bought the rights for Canada, and they built that store. And they had some, they were the covenant, and I do that particular shopping center, and they were, it was thought that they'd be there for a long time, but they didn't make it, so they sold it to management as far as I know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so the next one that we're dealing with is 1710 from the highway.
Already?
Will we ready, yes, sir?
Just one second, Mike. Yeah, I got it, thank you.
So the file number for 1710 from the highway is 19-3938. File number 0308-00351000. Proposed 2020 assessed value is $891,000. We have an old Wendy's on site here, restaurant built in '79, just like the agency looked at. Plan, gross, leasable area are all the same at 2,516 square feet. Essentially what we have here, it sold in 2015 for $800,000. They've been sending us income and expense questionnaires since the sale. Basically, they had a Wendy's in there when they bought it. Wendy's is now vacated. It's been vacant for a good 3-4 years now, or at reference day, 3-4 years. The property was reviewed for reassessment. An additional vacancy rate higher than the 3% was given. However, that then tanks the value lower than the than the land value, like the fair land value of this property. So what we see on page 3 is basically some land sales comparables. For other commercially zoned lands that have sold in Winnipeg, so I have a couple on Corden, one on Osborne Street, Portage Avenue and Henderson Highway there, that show a range of $39 a square foot up to a high of $79.99. I try to stay all around the same kind of size of the subject property, but I mean, nothing can be that close. The two closest ones are the Portage Avenue Henderson Highway ones, being as close to half an acre as the subject. They all have heavy traffic similar to the subject property, and all be on major streets. But you can see there's quite the range, going from that low of $39.29, even if we're looking at Henderson Highway and the Portage. I feel like those two size-wise are closest. One sold in 16, one sold in 18. You see the really isn't too much difference. So I feel like the 40/40 square foot applied is appropriate, which gives us that $891,000. Page 14 just shows an aerial view, but I mean, you guys probably are familiar with it since we just looked at the aerial view on the last property, which is right there. So you know where it is, not on the highway, it's on the riverside, not the rail side, so, yeah, that's the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Stewart, questions?
Just one question, or two questions quickly. Comparable number 5 on Henderson Highway,
Yep.
is that developed at this stage? It was vacant at the reference stage, is it now developed?
I'm not sure.
Are you aware if any of these are developed?
Nope.
No, they're not developed, or no, you're not aware?
I'm not aware, I don't feel like that's relevant, because I'm trying to include bare lands.
Well, the only reason is that they may be, somebody bought it knowing there's an opportunity as well, so.
Yeah, they
And-
might be developed now, but,
And where have you accounted for your demolition costs to get to this value?
I haven't.
You haven't. Is demolition $15 a square foot, is that reasonable for a small building?
If you're implying that we should be deducting for demolition, sometimes the vendor purchaser, it'll be negotiated within the sales price, so.
But the bottom line is that if you're saying that the market value for this land is $891,000, you'd have to take down the building. Typically, we use $10 a square foot for larger buildings. I'm suggesting $10 to $15 is not unreasonable. So,
Why would it be more?
because it's smaller. If the cap off sewers, it was generally smaller, it would be more expensive, I would think, per square foot.
Yeah.
But it's
I
at
don't
least,
have that
it's at
as
least
a-
$10 a square foot.
You can present that all you want,
No,
I'm
okay.
just saying these
No,
are.
I just wondered if you did account for it. Those are all my questions, thanks.
Okay, Mr. Stewart, any questions?
Nothing.
Okay, so I see two things. One, I see that the property in fact was bought in 2015 for $800,000.
Correct.
And the building itself, is it usable or is it best torn down?
I mean, it's usable, but we have seen a lot of these, the trend for these fast food places where they get torn down and they put the exact same rectangular building with shiny new features on it, so it really depends on who wants to use it. Because some of them you'll see they get transitioned in. I feel like this one, based on physical appearance, doesn't have any crazy features like McDonald's you'd see, or A&W with their slope roofs. It's just a standard rectangular building.
Okay. And there is no assessment for the building itself. It's just a land assessment you have here then.
Well, like I said, when we apply a higher vacancy to account for the fact that it's been
Yeah.
vacant for 3-4 years,
Yeah.
it drives the value so low that the land value is the highest and best use, really.
It
Highest
might-
value, yeah.
Correct, but the building might have some value, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know what the residual value is.
Yeah. It might be a detriment too, it's not, as Mr. Story is indicating, there could be a liability to achieve that.
Yeah, and as he said, he gave some evidence on, capping off and taking the building down, but I mean, likely a similar type building would just go up there anyways, so.
Well, then you bumps like.
Yeah, okay.
My presentation though is like,
Yeah.
again, we're at the low end of the range for comparables.
Okay,
I mean, the lowest was at 39.29, we're slightly above that.
okay, fair. So- Yes, so you go ahead?
Yes, just to make it abundantly clear, there was only one purchaser for this property, and that was the Pony Corral, and they were motivated because they needed the parking. It was to be raised, to be taken down, and to be used for parking, because they do have difficulty with parking. There's a property immediately north of them that they have an arrangement with where they allow people to overflow park on when they have live entertainment.
So you're saying, are you
It was
saying
bought
that,
for parking.
so you're saying the building is not for lease right now? Don't you
No,
lease it?
well, they've got it for lease, but it
Okay.
hasn't been
Okay.
shown, I don't think. And they did have a Dairy Queen chill, looked at it, but they had the same problems. If they had come in there and were successful, equal to or more successful than Wendy's, then the Pony Corral Pier 7 wouldn't have any parking. So they did look at it. It was going to be not feasible to do on that location, just from a dollars and cents point of view, forgetting about the fact that it would take away from the ability to park. But what they really wanted is to take it down and have it for parking. So that was the reason for the purchase. And that up until that both the smaller front building and the larger back building had been together many years ago. They were just under one roof. Okay, I'll just go through my presentation. So what the city does is the city looks at the property and says, well, if we assign a 15%, which is kind of the highest you would see for a consistently vacant but not chronically vacant building, when you do that, you come to a value that would be less than the city thinks comparable properties are at. We don't agree with that. We think that 2516 square feet should be at $22 a square foot with 15%, and using a 7.5% vacancy would be $551. If the city and the board in their wisdom think that the land only should be considered, you would have to deduct some amount, at least $10 a square foot for demolition. So assume you deduct $50,000 for demolition off the city's figure, that would give you an idea on land value. But what you have to be careful of, and it's coming up more and more at these hearings, is when there's an opportunity, when you see a property where it sells as vacant land, either industrial or commercial, or even residential, it sells, and shortly thereafter, out of the ground pops a condo development or some such thing, you really can't be sure that that was the fair market value of that property, or the fair market value of that property plus the opportunity to develop it. Now condos, typically, you pre-sell 65%, and you'll see and then you qualify to draw down the financing to build it. So one has to do a lot more work on land sales in terms of what they were bought for. Was it motivated purchaser? Do they own the property around them? I mean, you have to do a detailed analysis before you pick a number. And $40 a square foot, that for a Pembina highway seems high to me. And that's $39. That's the lowest comp is $39. So I would suggest that the income approach be used. It's a property that there's two issues. One is that highest and best use for the owner is probably parking, because it enhances his main building. It's always been a problem. When Wendy's were operating there, it was problematic. If you look at the front cover of our brief, the drive-through of Wendy's is very close to the entrance of Pier 7. So I suggest that we use the income approach, not the land value. And my assessment, my position is $551,303, using 7.5, asking for reinstatement of 5%, using a $22 rate. That's my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions? Super, do you have any questions?
I don't.
Okay, now you've indicated that this property is best used as a parking lot, which
For the
require
owner, for the
demolition.
current owner. Yeah.
Yeah, by the owner. And how did you get, you threw out the figure $50,000 for demolition, how did you get that
Well,
figure?
what happens is we use, generally in here, I use,
Use.
and I think most people do, use about $10 a square foot for demolition. So I use $10 a square foot. It's 4,500 square feet, I believe, 3,300. I'm sorry, 25,000 would be. Municipal rate is only 25, I thought, sorry, too many restaurants.
That's fine.
So $10 a square foot. Seems awfully low, I don't think you can demolish your building for that, but that's okay.
Okay, that's my only question, thank you.
Thanks.
Next property is 1050 Narren Avenue. Would you ready, Mr. Taylor?
File number for 1050 Narren Avenue is 19-4685. Roll number is 14093810680. Proposed 2020 assessed value is $924,000. Pony Corral, Narren Avenue. The The restaurant, one building on site, freestanding restaurants, talked about before, built in 1969. The planned gross floor area and leasable area are all the same at 4,500 square feet. We have a pretty decent land building ratio here at 7.74 to 1. Good parking here at this location. Page 2 shows requests for information were sent in, but again, owner occupied property, so there's not really too much on those last 4 pages. So I'll keep it short here. Page 4, we've seen previously, freestanding restaurant, model driven, 4,500 square feet, it's a model rent of $15.36 a square foot. Vacancy parameter for all restaurants is 3%. We have this uncovered expenses at 2%, shortfall at $7.50 a square foot, and this one's getting a cap rate of 7%. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ray, any questions?
Have you, you're familiar with the site?
Right.
I don't believe I have any questions. Thanks. I don't know.
So, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, so my question is, why is there 7% cap rate on this, and you indicated before that restaurants were all 7.5?
Yeah, well, this one, I am not sure why the model would generate a 7. I did indicate there that they have good parking, higher land to building ratio here than the last one. The last one did have a second floor component to it. I know that the modelers have talked in the past of having, what do you want to call it, an adjustment made if there is a second floor or a basement component to a space, whereas this one doesn't have any. I can't say for sure that would be why there's a difference between the last one we looked at on Pembina Highway and this one. So I would suggest that this one has, more appropriate parking on Nairn Avenue.
Okay, and you do all the assessments for the restaurants, for the assessment department in Winnipeg?
Do I do them?
Yeah.
I'll review some, yes, but I mean, there's not that many of us.
Okay, have you seen any other 7s? Because you indicated
Oh, yeah.
earlier that they were all 7.5.
Yeah, and I mean, generally, like say if we were looking just at the last property where it was a Wendy's and it's 2,500 square feet, I mean, once you get below 5,000 square feet, you're looking at lower cap rates. I've seen some go lower than that. I feel like the lowest one I saw, I mean, lots of the McDonald's, fast food restaurants, coffee shops are all, I mean, those are more premium tenants, but those are getting closer to 6%.
Okay, and I've been to this location, and I know there's an outside serving area in the summer. Is that, in this case, has that been assessed?
Nothing has been.
Assessed for that?
No. No, this would be more comparable, I mean, I have comparables on page 3, but like a family restaurant like a Boston Pizza or whatever that would also have a patio, that'd be similar to that, what we're looking at, but I mean, we're reflecting the age in the model rent there, being such an older property.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Just to follow up, Mike, in your experience, the patio is imputed into the rent on the main property.
No, patio is not reflected anywhere.
Or it's not found, it's built into rent. They pay more rent because they have that opportunity, do they not? It would be easier to rent, you'd be willing to pay more rent if you had that versus if you didn't.
Yeah, that'd be subjective, but we don't have flags anywhere in our system to say, yeah, there's a patio,
Yeah.
or it's covered, or whatever.
Okay.
Similarly for like greenhouses at Walmart and stuff, we don't assess for those temporary structures.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, ready for my
Yep.
presentation? Thank you. Okay, if you look at the front cover of our brief, you'll see on the left side, that's the patio. It exits off, there's a little lounge at the east end of the building, and that exits from the lounge, you come onto the patio. Patios, some have been put in just to allow people a place to go smoke, and just use that for that. It's an older building. It was a Shakey's Pizza when the Pony Corral leased it with option to purchase, and they ultimately did purchase it. It's the building is built in 1969, so it's 50 years old. So one has to take that into consideration when contemplating cap rate. The parking is an interesting situation because the reason that the Pony Corral bought the property behind it, which is next on this agenda, is because of parking. They needed more parking as well. In the winter months, there's a mountain of snow in the middle of this parkade, and it appears that there's ample parking, but they still struggle with parking. They also have this front part where if you park diagonally here, you block just in front of the patio. So it does have some challenges in parking and everything. But be it as it is, it's an older building. There's been cosmetic changes to the front and signage. I've been handling it since they bought it, and I'm not aware of any building permits that have been taken, so there's no major updates. It's a 50-year-old building. It's on Nairn. Nairn's a competitive street. The main retail hub is at Regent and La Jamodier. This is primarily a drive-through. It's a high traffic and but fairly fast traffic on Nairn. But it's a good location, it's good exposure for the Pony Corral, they're successful there. We think a reasonable market rent would be $15 based on this type of property, an older property. We use 6% again because it's a restaurant.
I'm just referring here, though, you've got the city assessor's rate is 17.5, and I'm looking at, it looks like it's 15.36.
Yeah, we didn't know, you see where it says estimated?
Oh.
These weren't on the system.
Okay.
We didn't know, we had to make up our number. This whole.
Okay, so you had an assumption that you were.
Yeah,
gonna-
that's wrong, I would ignore that, just to go with the assessors. But we're using $15,
Yeah, it's you're almost the same.
yeah. And 8%, it has to be 8%, it's probably, in the real world, it's probably higher. But so we're asking for $7.15. $7.15, $6.69, thank you. And same, we use the same comps throughout, and we asked for the 5% be reinstated. But they're the same comps, these are comps that, other than Reindeers, that had been other restaurants before, and they're not major national chains coming in with high covenants doing fancy build-ups. Pretty mundane.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Any questions?
I'm good, thank you.
Steve, do you have any questions? No, I'm good. I don't have any either, so we're gonna have, go on, but we're gonna get our panel member
Yes,
back.
yes.
So I'm gonna take a short recess right now.
Sure, absolutely.
5 minutes,
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll resume the hearing right now, and next property is 100 Regent Avenue West. Are you ready, Mr. Pillar?
Yep, for sure. So the file number for 100 Regent Avenue West is 19-4256. Roll number being 090002700000. Proposed 2020 assessed value is $838,000. We have a joint recommendation today between applicant and assessor to reduce the value to $771,000 based on revised NOI and cap rate. 771,000.
Mr. Story, that's simple? You said, I heard it was joint, so I'm assuming that it is.
Yes, I just wanted to, I don't know if I can do this, I want to bring something to the board's attention, that in this particular restaurant, this is a Subway restaurant, 6% was used for the vacancy. But I accept the recommendation today.
You know, when it's a recommendation like this,
Here.
you know, it's not a precedent, we take the numbers, so, you know, that statement of yours isn't necessary.
Okay?
Okay?
Yeah, and just to defend it, is that, because we're valuing it as a retail property, because we have half Subway, half paint store. It's not just a restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions, board members?
What did you adjust? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Just the NOI and cap rate,
Thank you. With the cap on.
7.
Okay. It's fine, if you want to then with the property at 2591 Portage Avenue. Again, Mr. Whitty, when you're ready?
Sure. So file number is 19-4829. Roll number being 0707-389-6100. Proposed 2020 assessed value is $1,057,000. two-story Chinese food restaurant here, built in 1964. Limited parking here, really right on Portage Avenue. Yeah, my apologies to everyone, I should have deleted the sale, post-reference sale, so let's ignore that on page 2. I dealt with this property, so I've been through the whole thing. I dealt with it back in 2018 with the Altus Group before it did change hands. So very familiar with the subject property, been through it quite well with them. So on page 5, really we see the restaurant income valuation for the subject property. All model driven. So the main floor there, we see a rent of $14.94 square foot, and the upper floor has a rent of $9.04 a square foot. Both are in average shape for a building built way back in '64. So typical to what you would see at most older Chinese food restaurants. Vacancy, again, standard for restaurants is at 3%, uncovered expenses, again, 2%, shortfall $750 standard for restaurants, and we have a cap rate of 8% today, factoring in the age, and the fact that there really is no parking at the subject site. Going over to, if we skip over all the addendum there, page 17 just shows aerial photographs of the subject, so you guys can just picture, there's some parking in the rear, but really not that much. So you'll have to have a mixture, like when you're at a full capacity of street parking plus a lot of parking in the back. And then you just have the income expense questionnaire there. Not sure why. Well, I'm gonna get you to disregard that as well.
Disregard which?
The page 18 and 19, just sorry, the new owner filled it out and he provided us, I don't know how he did this. He provided us with the 2019 income expense questionnaires, but you would have sent this in. This would have been completed 2 years ago, so I'm not sure why it's marked 2019, it's just confusing, so I'm just saying disregard it instead. I mean, the request for the 2019 statement only goes out this spring, so it's impossible to have those statements, but it's just confusing, so, yeah.
Okay? Mr. Stewart, any questions?
Yes, just a couple. First one is a Bella. Bella, did we have a brief? I don't have my brief.
For reporter?
Yeah. I have the Bella, but on the, yeah, you do have. Sorry. Oh, thank you very much. Mike, are you aware that the restaurant was closed at the reference date?
Nope.
Yeah, we just checked the 7455.
I mean, again, I was there in January of 18 with
Yeah.
Carrie Renner. We went at the very end of the day, because the restaurant had weird hours.
Yeah,
They opened at 4, so I worked a little bit later that day. Went through the whole thing in January, so you're telling me 3 months after that they closed?
yeah, they closed it. He had been sick for 3 years. Wally had been sick for 3 years, and even when you and Mr. Reimer went there, it must have been sporadic opening, because it was open but not open kind of thing. But I have rebuttal evidence that shows that the putting down the chopsticks for good dated April 2nd of 2018. So I'll give it in rebuttal. But he was, it's just a write-up on Wally Wu, and when he took sick, and he was sick for quite a while before he passed away. Okay, so let's just go through this. Just a second, sorry, Mr. Chair. I hadn't looked at this one. Okay. So the $14.94 is model driven,
Correct.
and the 904 is model driven, that's a mezzanine at the second floor.
That's the second floor,
Is
yeah.
there an elevator to the second floor?
No.
And you're aware the second floor was, hadn't been used for many years, was formerly a banquet room?
Yeah, it's standard of what you'd see in those older Chinese food restaurants.
Yeah, but this one hadn't been used for many years as a banquet facility.
It was not in the condition when I inspected it as not having been used. It was clean.
Yeah.
It looked like you could do some dinner service there that night when I went to it, so.
Okay. It's model driven, 8 cap. I think those are my questions. Thank you.
Sir, do you have any questions?
I'm fine.
Sir, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions?
I have some rebuttal.
Well, what is the rebuttal, first of all?
Just the fact that it was closed.
And how's that rebuttal? I mean, that's something you could have anticipated before. There's nothing that really has come in here that is rebutted. That's evidence you could have presented.
Well, actually, the session was open at the reference date, and he thought it was, so I'm rebutting it.
Okay,
This
Okay.
this is a newspaper article.
that's fine. You know what, that's
Okay.
fine, sure.
All right, I can pass that. Okay. You're aware that that owner has passed away?
No.
Wally Wu? No?
All I know is that it traded, like we talked about, there's a post-reference sale.
Okay. All right, well, we're not doing a sale. Okay, we'll go to our brief if we can for a minute. We all know it's an iconic building just off Maury on Portage. It's 55 years old. It has a banquet facility on the second floor that is a little difficult to access. There's no elevator. If you go to page 3 of our brief, we're suggesting a market rent based on its age and condition, and it does, with due respect to Mike, it does have parking, but that parking is on a separate roll. There is another lot behind the animal hospital, which is owned by the Wu family, but is parking for, so if you look at the building on its own, it would have no parking and it would have no value at all. It does have parking because they own that, it's, I think street's all by. So $12.50 we think is reasonable, 15% because our understanding is it was closed at the reference date. It certainly had operated inconsistently for a number of years when after he took sick. We're asking for a shortfall of 8%, $8 a square foot. 15% is the suggested vacancy. It was bought by Mike Watson on the strength that he had an offer to purchase from a funeral home. He was going to use it as a chapel and whatnot, and that fell through, so he's an unwilling owner. He happens to own it now and has it for lease or sale. Cap rate, we've used 9%, because I believe the building is in very bad shape. So we're asking for an assessment of $719,092, and there was a post-reference sale, and the post-reference sale included $50,000 over and above the sworn amount that we see in here. $50,000 for all the fixtures, equipment, pots and pans and dishes, and that was disposed of by the new purchaser. So it wasn't really a going concern when he bought it. It wasn't really a going concern at the reference date. So with that, I'd like to suggest a cap rate of 9%, which is because of the age and because of the lack of, technically the lack of parking. 719, 720 rounded. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Mr. Whitman, any questions?
Just one. Looking at it, do you know what the frontage is on that property?
I don't know offhand, but we can get it from the tax, it'll say on the, oh, we don't have the tax bill.
It's not the most narrow property on the block, but it's fairly narrow.
Yeah, it's narrow. It's on the west side is a dog hospital, on the other, the right side is a former restaurant. I'm not sure what it is now. It might still be a restaurant. It used to be Gatlinburg.
This is the old Marigold restaurant.
The old Marigold, yeah, right on Moray and Portage.
Do you
That's-
know just roughly what the frontage is?
It's on page 2.
So,
It's on.
Oh,
Mr.
that's,
Story's
yeah,
page.
page 2. I knew it was here, I didn't know where to look. It's 43 feet.
43.
Yeah. So it's a skinny building, but again, as I indicated, you can be fooled by the fact that it doesn't have parking, because the street parking is limited, but they do have access to parking in close proximity that they use, or they couldn't function.
That big lot in back.
It's
It's not theirs.
back and behind the animal hospital.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
I do, just further to your comment on the parking. So
Yeah.
there is no parking on this, on the roll number in question.
There's probably, if they stack them, there's probably 6.
So
Mike
there's a
has an
few.
overview, but there's a bit of parking behind this building, but certainly not enough for a banquet hall.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I heard from the assessor that this is, this building is in average condition. I heard you, for the age.
Yeah,
the age.
I
heard you say that it is in bad shape. What
Yes.
in particular leads you to make that statement?
Well, it's 55 years old, it's been serving Chinese food for 55 years, and building's aged, and it wasn't, bless his heart, because I loved him, when Wally took sick, it wasn't looked after anymore, it was run down, in my opinion.
Structural issues?
Well,
Roof issues?
there's some pictures that, I think they're in Mike's brief, or mine. I don't know that the structural,
Okay.
just age, I think. I
Okay.
don't know
Okay.
about roofs being replaced and things of that nature, but to me, it's, how do you say, it's rough.
Okay.
It's a rough restaurant.
Thank you. I have no other questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The lot, it's another roll number that we're talking about, was that sold as well?
Yes, it's all part of it.
Post reference?
Yeah. So there are 3 components to it: the sale of the building, land and building, that the restaurant part is on, and then the 1 acre behind, and then they took all the founding stuff and bought it.
Yeah, that's a different transaction though, I think that's,
Pardon me?
that was a different transaction though.
Yes, but there's 3 steps to that one transaction when you buy it. But you didn't buy it as a going concern, you bought it.
And you indicated there's $50,000 for the equipment that he bought,
They paid $50,000 for all that.
and that he sold after, or
So-
did something with it.
Yeah.
Why would he, if he's buying equipment, why would he put it on the transaction? Because then you have to pay land transfer tax on it.
We didn't put that, 900 it was over and above that.
Well, I paid 50,000 over and above the
Over and above
900,000, I
that,
got you,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And I think he just sold that and tried to recoup it, because it wasn't intended to be a restaurant, it wasn't bought as a restaurant. Nobody, including the Wu family, thought it would continue on.
What's he trying to do now? Is he trying to lease it to a restaurant or just for whatever he can?
Well, he's got
use it
the
for?
lease or sale on it right now, and I think anybody that would be interested, he'd do something.
And how long has it been for lease?
I'm gonna guess 6 or 8 months. It was, I think they had announced that tenant was coming, but it fell through.
Okay. Thank you.
Or oh, so mine is here.
That one's mine, on that side requested. That one,
Oh, sorry. I went from having none to 2.
thank you.
Okay, well, next deal with the next property, which is 1825 Portage Avenue.
Sure.
When you're ready, Mr. Taylor.
Yep, so the file number is 19-4045, roll number 0702047000. Proposed 2020 assessed value is $521,000. I believe Mr. Story was just seeking confirmation on this property.
Yes, I can explain. 1823 and 1825 are 2 adjacent, or 1 building basically, that shares a basement. And the roles are being merged, so they'll be assessed as a single property. We had 1823, just, some of you might know it if you're not in the town. It's kind of a neat name. It's called Stagger Inn, it's a bar, and the
Stagger
restaurant's
Inn.
called Captain's Table, the fish and chip store. And so we're in the process of putting it, at the suggestion of firstly Mr. Topinski, and then more lately Howard McCubbin, has suggested it'd be better for everybody to merge the road because there's a 3/4 basement that's under
Okay.
one but not two. So
We
we'd
wish
like
that
to.
if you want confirmation, you know, that's fine.
You don't try to hear these interesting stories about restaurants.
Well, you know,
That's where we all grew
we
up.
might need a lot of time on this next one though. So,
Yes, we'd like to confirm.
okay, next property is at 1 Portage Avenue East.
Okay.
You ready, Mr. Taylor?
Sure. So the file number for 1 Portage Avenue East is 19-4876. The roll number is 12097533500. Proposed 2020 assessed value is $1,328,000. Today we have a joint recommendation between the appellant and or the applicant and the assessor to reduce the value to $1,220,000 based on a revised cap rate there of 8%.
Okay, that's satisfactory?
Yes, thank you.
Any questions, board members? No? What was the cap rate before it was revised? Was it 7%?
7.35.
7?
7.35.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And 1111 Notre Dame Avenue.
File number for 1111 Notre Dame is 19-4260. File number 130603-87000. Proposed 2020 assessed value is $586,000. Joint recommendation between the applicant and the assessor on this one as well, to reduce the value down to $489,000. And that one's based on revised NOI and cap rate today.
Yes, I
That's simple?
concur. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Story. Any questions from board members?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the, record?
489.
4.
Nothing? No, I don't either. Thank you. And 50 for Devonshire.
So the file number for 50 Provencher Boulevard is 19-4047. Number being 12097607300. Both 2020 assessed value is $621,000. We do have a joint recommendation on this today, but first there's the non-cooperation.
Okay.
Just that I should address.
Well, first of all, Mr. Story, are you contesting the non-cooperation?
Yes,
You are, okay, so go ahead then, please.
Yeah, so it's just on pages 18 through 20, sorry, where there is the registered mail that was sent out, basically to 529 Wellington Crescent. Yeah, the numbered company that pays the tax bill there, the city lease there too, so it was mailed to the lessee. Nothing was returned. They said just throw it over the bridge.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that's it?
That's it, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Story, what's your position?
yes. Quick question if I may.
Actually, I don't know if it's time to ask questions or not. I think I'll get
Okay.
your reasons
Well,
why.
Okay, first of all, I can do it in a different way. The landlord in this particular property is the city of Winnipeg. This is the Provencher Bridge,
Right.
middle of the Provencher Bridge. And I see the assessor has in his brief, has information on the sale, and it looks like getting signed for at 529.
Sorry, yeah, I don't have any information on a sale. Not sure what you're talking about there, but.
There's
all I said
no
was that-
sale, it's the city of Winnipeg, it's a bridge.
Yeah, no, you just said something about a sale, so I'm just clarifying, yeah.
No, I just said I see your questionnaire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the
And I'm just
basis
trying to
of
figure-
your contesting the non-cooperation?
Yes, because the negotiations with, it's a restaurant in the city of Winnipeg, it's almost a concessionaire, he's seasonal, he
Who
only
pays
pays,
the taxes on it?
the restaurant pays taxes, and it's seasonal, the rent is only payable part of the year. So, was there a second, anything further than this? Oh, I'm not allowed to ask questions, or am I?
Oh, you can ask, I'm sorry. Certainly, now I see the question you want to ask, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm looking at the card, and do we know, is there such a person as PCCEAL? Is there any follow-up done on that?
No, there's no follow-up to ask at 529 Wellington who PCCEL is.
Okay. And it was mailed to 529 Wellington Theatre. Okay, I don't have a lot of, other than kind of a common sense thing, if you enter into a lease with property and development, one would wonder why you get penalized for not filling in the questionnaire, but maybe that's just me, so, no, I don't have an argument.
Mr. Bishop, any questions? Okay, I don't either, but I think we have to deliberate on this one, so again, you'll just leave the room for a minute, and we'll call you right back. Okay, we're gonna grant the non-co-op, and we'll hear the joint recommendation now, Mr. David.
Okay, so yeah, with joint recommendation to reduce the value to 464,000. 464,000.
Okay, and that's acceptable, Mr. Story?
Yes, we'll accept that.
Okay, so that concludes all matters on the agenda today, and we'll
That was
deliberate on,
fast. That was fast.
Yeah.
You guys are good.
the decisions. So are you, thank you.